Microphone number 12, we have from Ohio Conference, Julian Filipov, NAD.
Mr. Chair, I move to add to the agenda a review and discussion of the 2015 General Conference AdCom statement encouraging immunization. Specifically, the claim that Adventist health message is grounded in peer-reviewed scientific literature, in addition to the Bible and the writing of Ellen White. This assertion merits careful examination as it appears in conflict with the fundamental beliefs. Belief 22 affirms that the Adventist health message is a matter of doctrine, while the introduction of our fundamental beliefs clearly states Seventh-day Adventists accept the Bible as their only creed, a position that is further affirmed in belief number 1, and then in belief 18, we affirm as the spirit of prophecy as a reference point for our beliefs. In light of all these principles, I respectfully urge that this issue be given a thoughtful and prayerful consideration. Otherwise, we are on our path to repeat history, and in particular, I'm thinking of the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, who turned the tradition of people into holy tradition. Nowadays, our society is turning to scientism as our human tradition. Let's keep the Bible and the spirit of prophecy as a foundation of doctrine.
Julian, it would help if you would formulate your motion in one sentence, please.
The mic is on? Okay. I move to add to the agenda a review and discussion of the 2015 General Conference AdCom statement encouraging immunization. Specifically, its claim that the Adventist health message is grounded in peer-reviewed scientific literature in addition to the Bible and the writings of Ellen White.
All right, let me ask you if there is a second. There are seconds. And Julian, if you would be so kind and come up front here so that your motion can be typed. George Kenny from SPD, South Queensland Conference, please, you have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In light of the point that has already been stated about the highest authority of God's church being the voice of the General Conference with its delegates in session, I would like to amend the agenda to include the item to discuss the validity of any official statement not voted by a GC in session, as well as our relationship with non-Adventist entities and ecumenical councils, such as the UN. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're discussing only the amendment. We go now to Amir Al-Haddad, Delegate at Large, GC, microphone number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am the Religious Liberty Director for the Southern Union Conference. And I'd like to just speak to the motion that's on the floor in regards to all that religious liberty has done in this church for our church members that is not being talked about when we talk about this amendment. I've been working on vaccine accommodation issues since 1995. That is 30 years as of this year. And even without a written statement, it was an unwritten understanding within the church that Adventism did not reject vaccines from a denominational standpoint. When the vaccine statement came out in 2016, it was made absolutely no impact on the accommodation results that flowed through my office. None whatsoever. Until the pandemic From 1995 until 2021, I had never had a vaccine accommodation refused, and during the pandemic, we only had 3 cases out of hundreds denied, and 2 of them were denied before they ever made it to my office. Since the development and the deployment of the vaccine in 2021, we've done almost over 300 cases alone. We have not turned our backs on any sincere religious objection from the church's point. We even continue to help people that we disagree with because religious liberty gives you the right to hold a different personal belief. We didn't stop doing that during the pandemic. My colleagues across the North American division didn't stop doing that, and we continue to do it even this week. If a church statement was all it took to resolve an issue, then everybody in this room would have a really good life.
Sorry, the time is out, but our translators are asking everyone who will speak to the amendment, if you could state very clearly, it will be easy for them to translate if you speak for the amendment or against it. So if you could just finish telling us.
Okay, yes. Even though we have a church doctrine on Sabbath accommodation, this doctrine doesn't keep our church members from having accommodation problems. And I don't think that changing this statement will have any impact on accommodation for vaccines. We've still had very good results, and if all it took was a statement from this church to be a predicator to the world's response, it is really only a good soundbite for those who have abandoned a spirit of unity in this church. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Microphone number 1, Niklas Rantanen, Trans-European Division.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a layperson myself, and I speak in favor of a bottom-up organization where the regular members and the regular grassroots employees can bring forward good ideas and initiatives, and they are listened to and considered seriously. And I think the GC could do more to make available channels and processes more transparent. Not only to explain how items can be sent towards the executive committee for consideration to be added on the agenda, but also to show at which step of the way certain initiatives were stopped and why. That could help us avoid these situations where complicated, intricate, and even controversial matters that are requiring careful study, consideration, and preparation are brought directly to the session. If there is no other channel, they come up here. So in the future, we could look into making the channels more visible and transparent. But in any case, and based on what I just said, I do speak against accepting the amendment, because the issue would need to be studied and prepared very thoroughly before placing it on the agenda. And same probably goes for any other amendments that we're about to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Niklas. Now we go to microphone number 10, Bangwata Sikwa Ramabu from GC Delegate at Large.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm very much in line with the speaker who just spoke now. I want to speak against this amendment on 2 points. The first point is what he has already stated, that something like this needs to be studied very hard before we can come and discuss it here. The second point is that according to our policies, the Executive Committee and the ADCOM, they have the authority to make decisions for the church in between sessions. Now, I'm troubled if we were to come to a situation whereby the decisions that are taken, we have to bring all of them back to the floor. I see us opening a dangerous door there, because at any point we may find ourselves needing to come to the General Conference to revise the decisions that were taken by those that we had said can take decisions for us in between the sessions. But having said that, I want to appreciate very much what he said as his preamble, the previous speaker, to say that possibly we need to revisit how we process a number of decisions to go all the way to the executive committee or the ADCOM, so that we run away from the risk of people feeling that they were not represented adequately. But I do speak against making this amendment now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and both of you have been heard. And I think there is space for us to really make known the processes, how you could really get more involved. We have actually worked out a process and voted by the session for the fundamental beliefs. And something like this probably would be very helpful for church members and delegates to know ahead of time if they would like to raise something. But we have heard you and we will follow up on it. Thank you very much. The next speaker is microphone number 2, Georgia Kenny, South Queensland Conference, SPD.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify my prior statement. Forgive me for my lack of understanding of the protocols. I was intending to make an amendment to the issue on the floor about the vaccine statement and amend it that we not just include that one statement, although I think it is relevant, but give a broader view to the statements in general that were not voted at a general conference in session, in order that the delegates may give the voice to things that are stated under the beliefs of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But it goes much broader from beside the current amendment. So it would be much cleaner for us to solve this one before we go to another one. Don't you think so? All right. Elder Wilson wants to speak, please.
Thank you, Brother Chair, and I hope you can hear adequately. Some people have had little trouble hearing everything said, especially from the floor. I think a little bit of explanation for our delegates is in order, and this will certainly take more than 2 minutes. The challenge that we have faced with some of the items that have come up is that there has been a tremendous amount of misinformation circulated. Coming out of COVID-19, there were a lot of concerns and difficulties that people faced. And we sympathize with people. Some people lost jobs, some people lost their lives. I think we can all agree COVID-19 was a very difficult time. However, out of that particular setting, the General Conference issued a reaffirmation of the statement that was made in 2015. 2015 statement had nothing to do with COVID because we didn't know COVID existed. The statement and the way the amendment to the motion has been phrased would somehow indicate, and this is a highly misinformed view, I have to tell you, it in some way insinuates that the General Conference has now put science above or equal to the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. I have to tell you that is unequivocally false. We have never done that. In fact, let me read to you the actual portion. It's a very short statement, in 2015. But I'll read a portion so that you will understand. The Seventh-day Adventist Church places strong emphasis on health and well-being. The Adventist health emphasis is based on the Bible, the inspired writings of church co-founder Ellen G. White. Now, that's what it's based on. It goes on to say, and is informed by peer-reviewed scientific health literature. In no way does the Seventh-day Adventist Church put scientific information, peer-reviewed scientific information, above the Bible or the spirit of prophecy, or even equal to those. Absolutely not. The case in point about how peer-reviewed scientific literature informs us. Let's use the example recently, or in the last few decades. Scientific information has indicated to us that a little bit of alcohol or wine would be good for your heart. Seventh-day Adventists have unequivocally disagreed with that because it does not connect properly with the Bible or the spirit of prophecy. Just recently, scientific literature has now come out saying no alcohol is good for you. We completely agree with that because it agrees with the Holy Word and the spirit of prophecy. Now, in that statement in 2015, certainly 3 times, if not 4 times implied, was that this was your choice. We advocated vaccinations. Many of us cannot travel around the world without vaccinations. Typhoid, cholera, yellow fever, whatever it might be. We simply reaffirmed in 2021 that the recommendations about vaccinations were in order. You know, unfortunately, some people have badly misled others to say that the church mandated that you had to have a vaccination. Completely false. All of these were simply recommendations. You can choose it or not. In the reaffirmation statement in 2021, 16 times in the document, it says it's your choice, essentially your choice. In fact, I will read to you what was put in all capital letters, block letters, in that reaffirmation of 2021. Unfortunately, many people who have twisted the wording, twisted the intent of the General Conference, never mentioned this. I don't know why. I'll read it to you. Capital letters, all capital letters. The decision to be immunized or not is the choice of each individual and should be taken in consultation with one's health care provider. Personal research on the subject is important. We ultimately rely on following biblical health practices and the spirit of prophecy, and following God's leading in our lives, which will bring us peace and assurance in our decision-making. The General Conference, the World Church, never mandated anything. Even at the General Conference headquarters, we asked our employees, either you take the vaccination or you get tested on a weekly basis and show the results to our health officials. In terms of a statement that the General Conference makes, or different organizations, I have a long list of statements that have been made over many years by General Conference Executive Committee, by the Administrative Committee, by spring meeting, which is the executive committee, or annual council, which is the executive committee, as well as the administrative committee. The executive committee, as was pointed out by one of our delegates, and thank you for that, is the organization, the entity that cares for the church between General Conference sessions. The executive committee is the one that authorizes the administrative committee to do its work. Some people have said administrative committee has no right to make any statements. And yet, many statements have been made on a variety of subjects, not as mandates necessarily, not as the rule, but simply as an indication of our reaction to particular statements, particular topics. So the information that has been shared by some people has been erroneous. It has not been accurate. We attempted to try to answer some of those questions back in 2021, 2022. In fact, question and answers were provided, etc., for people. Unfortunately, people like to twist and misuse anything you say. In fact, it might even happen with what I'm saying now. So we stopped trying to explain. We instead focused on the mission of the church, on evangelism, on gaining everyone towards a particular goal that would enhance our magnificent message and not engage in debate with those, and I have to tell you, in my opinion, it is a very small minority of the church. In fact, for some of you here today, what is being presented may be news to you because you haven't even thought about it. My brothers and sisters, I would urge us not to be involved in conspiracy approaches, even to the point, it's almost unbelievable, that somehow the General Conference and the World Church is receiving instructions and is under the thumb or the direction of the United Nations. That, to me, is complete fallacy. We have no instructions from the United Nations. We have no directives. We have nothing. We are not in contact with the United Nations, except we have a representative that works with other non-government organizations to help in humanitarian areas, to help in health challenges, to help in religious liberty aspects. So my brothers and sisters, I think the record needed to be shared and set straight. We sympathize with those who have concerns, and you have the right to your opinion. But it is a very small minority of people within the 23+ million church members who have continued to agitate about erroneous and misleading information. So, Brother Chair, I really hope we can move ahead to not engage ourselves with these kinds of peripheral items which have already been taken place. And I want to thank you for providing me with the time to explain.
Thank you very much. We go now to microphone number 10, Anthony Bosman. Microphone number 10, Anthony Bosman.
Thank you, and I want to thank Elder Wilson for those clarifying remarks. I just want to speak to the content of this amendment by reading the opening paragraph of the chapter Science and the Bible in the book Education. Ellen White writes under inspiration, "Since the book of nature and the book of Revelation bear the impress of the same master mind, they cannot but speak in harmony. Science is ever discovering new wonders, but she brings from her research nothing that, rightly understood, conflicts with divine revelation. The book of nature and the written word shed light upon each other. They make us acquainted with God by teaching us something of the laws through which He works. I speak against the motion. It's appropriate that as we hold up Scripture as the supreme standard of truth, we also acknowledge how God has revealed truth through the sciences as much as it speaks in harmony with what He has revealed in Scripture. I speak against the motion, and I would like to call the question.
All right, the question has been called. Now we will, it's not debatable, and we will vote on the question to stop debate on the amendment. So if you vote yes, we will stop the amendment and move to the main motion. If you vote no, then we will continue debating the amendment. Is that clear? The vote was to cease the debate. Yeah, very clearly we have 2/3. Now we are going to vote on the actual amendment. So the amendment was to add an item to the agenda that was suggested as a main motion. If you would like the item to be included in the agenda, then you vote yes. If you would like to return to the agenda as it was suggested, as it is in our books, without adding this item, then you vote no. Is that clear? So again, I repeat, because our translators need more time. Now we are not voting on the main motion. We are voting on the amendment. If you would like the item of vaccination to be included in the agenda, you vote yes. If you would like to return to the main agenda without adding the vaccination issue, you vote no. Is that clear? Okay, let us proceed and vote on the amendment.
It's open now. It's open.
Oh, it's open. Okay. You see, as soon as you threaten the election body, it starts working. All right, let's vote. So you see the result. Thank you very much. We are moving now to the main motion to approve the agenda as it was presented. Microphone number two.
Thank you. Could we please have the amendment back so I can make sure I get my wording correct? Thank you.
Put the amendment back? Okay, there it is. Okay. Yes.
Okay, yes, I support, I suggest that this could be something that's always on the agenda. And I'd also like to just clarify something, that was said earlier about the 2015 statement, because it's not about immunisation or vaccination mandates. It's about whether having peer-reviewed scientific literature there is valid, because it says Bible, spirit of prophecy, and peer-reviewed scientific literature is what our health emphasis is based on, whereas our immunisation is not mentioned in the Bible and it's not mentioned in the spirit of prophecy. So there's only the peer-reviewed scientific literature left. So to make it clear that it's not about vaccinations, it's about whether peer-reviewed scientific literature should be stands on its own for us, and just to clarify that we have these official statements on the official church website at Adventist.org, And it's under beliefs. Official statements are under beliefs. So the outside world are confused about actually what our beliefs are, because that's listed there. So people were refused their religious exemptions because it was unclear to the outside employer that what we believe. So I'm happy that we're discussing these things as a church family, because families are not afraid to discuss their issues that are difficult sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now concerning the amendment, those who are in line, are you wishing to speak to the amendment? Microphone number 9. Clinton Wallen.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like, with all kindness and respect for the people that have expressed their opinions, to move this session forward. I move that we move the previous question.
Thank you very much. The previous question is called, but it is on the amendment. And actually, a report on all the departments you can find in Adventist Review. For all the last quinquennium, it was a shorter one, but anyway, in Adventist Review, every department has published a report. And so now we vote on the previous question. If you vote yes, it means we cease the debate on the amendment. So let us vote. Do you have your card so that we speed up the process? If you would like, let's use our cards right now. Otherwise, it will be too long with the election body.
I don't know.
Let's see if we can see. If you would like to stop the debate, please raise your cards. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Overwhelming. If you would like to continue or you are opposed to stop, please raise your cards. Yeah, we have clear majority, overwhelming majority. So now we are voting actually on the amendment. We stopped the debate. If you would like the amendment to proceed and be included in the agenda, you vote yes when you are called for. And if you would like just to return to the agenda as it was suggested, you vote no. And we will use again the cards. Those who would like to include this item that was suggested to the agenda, please raise your card. Thank you. Almost no cards. If you against it, you would like to return to the main agenda, please raise your cards. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, since we are so late, let me ask you the question. Would you like to continue the debate, or would you rather like to vote on the agenda? Okay, let me take some maybe freedom here and ask you to vote on the agenda. All those who are in favor to accept the agenda as is given, please raise your cards. Thank you very much. Overwhelming. Those who would like to continue the discussion, raise your hands. Your card, sorry. Thank you. It is taken care of. We have approved the agenda. And now we move to the last item of our agenda today.
Yes, Chair. Now, finally, we can move to the last portion of our procedural opening.
So here you have the official statement that was being discussed, that some delegates tried to add to the agenda to be debated and possibly changed, possibly removed. And you can see here this highlighted section that says, we as the church, the official church, encourage responsible immunization vaccination and have no religious or faith-based reason not to encourage our adherents to responsibly participate in protective and preventative immunization programs. Now, the issue with this and religious liberty was once the COVID pandemic came around, apparently, reportedly, some people who did not want to take the vaccination, and full transparency, I didn't take the vaccination and would never, but some people who didn't, when it was required at their work and they applied for a religious exemption, it was reported that some of these employers would go to our official church website and see this official statement, which says that the church encourages responsible immunization vaccinations and that they have no religious or faith-based reason not to encourage. And then the employers would say, no, we're not going to grant you a religious exemption. You're either going to take the job or get fired because obviously your church is not on the same page you are. And so these members, apparently, I don't know any, but some people may have lost their jobs because their employers went off of our official statement here and said, sorry, your church doesn't believe in a religious exemption for immunizations and vaccinations. And then the other part that was being called into question was that sentence, that's phrased just before the highlighted section that says that our strong emphasis on health and well-being is based on the Bible, the inspired writings of Ellen White, and on peer-reviewed scientific literature. A lot of people think that peer-reviewed scientific literature should not be in there because they feel like this sentence elevates all these three as equal. The Bible as equal with Ellen White, as equal with peer-reviewed scientific literature, and obviously they have a problem with that, as well they should, because that is not true. But in Ted Wilson's address, he specifically says that we're just listing what our health emphasis is based on. We're not saying that these are all comparable and equal. We're just saying it's based on the Bible, it's based on Ellen White, and it's based on scientific studies. Now, many videos are coming out, controversial videos, and I decided to watch one of them. And this was from Advent Media Connect, I believe their channel name is. And I'll just show you, you can see right there, day one GC in session, delegates request smackdown by Ted Wilson, members are baffled. Well, no, that's not true right off the bat. The members were not baffled. The members voted overwhelmingly to not add this to the agenda, and if anything, to study it in some commission or whatever, our church relationship with immunizations and vaccinations and such, before it's put to any kind of vote and brought up for action at the General Conference. So this kind of rhetoric is not helpful because it's divisive, it's inflammatory, and it works directly against Jesus's mandate in Matthew chapter, or in John chapter 17, that he prayed so fervently for us to be one as him and his Father are one. And so I'll just show you a clip from this, and then I'll show you some of the comments that this kind of video are stirring up, and the heart and the anger and the hatred and whatnot.
By peer-reviewed scientific health literature.
Okay.
In no.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is that? What is that? What do we call that? That's just a lie.
That's just a lie. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how to.
That's just a lie. That's a bold-faced lie.
I had to go back on the site and say, wait a minute, because we're not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but we have to be honest, because I went on the website because I don't ever remember it including that. So I went on, and it's not there.
Even if it had been there.
Now I want to make this point real quick, because here's why that difference. And folks, please, there's going to be people who are going to say we're splitting hairs. Listen.
No, I'm not going to listen, but what I am going to do is read some comments. This is the comments on that video. This is either deceit or subterfuge on the part of Elder Wilson, or he has absolutely no idea what the final statements emanating from the organization are. Either of these disqualify him from continuing at the helm of the organization. So right away, you've got calls for Elder Wilson to be ousted from the General Conference because he is unfit. The GC is acting like the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin. Sad that on day one, the president is already being dishonest. Please let us not be surprised by this behavior. It was very clear the last time that Ted Wilson does not want to listen to the guiding of the Holy Spirit. That's a crazy accusation to make. The church will not fall, as Sister White writes, but the church is not the GC. The church are those who keep walking the narrow path. Let me just clarify that the church that will appear to fall but will not fall is the organized body. It is not sincere believers that will appear to fall but not fall. Here we go again. Said it last time and I repeat again, there is no turning back for these General Conference leaders. That's unpardonable sin language. The fact that a man has been selected to be president of a conference does not mean that he shall have authority to rule over his fellow man. This is after the practice of Rome, and it cannot be tolerated. Now, here, somebody is comparing Ted Wilson to the Pope. Now pay attention to the last line here, where I am starting to wonder if Wilson and Diop are not the mini Antichrist and false prophet. Now, this is particularly heartbreaking. This is why I left the church. And this is the result of divisive videos and this un-Christ-like heart. A lie. Liar. Ted is the Pope. Sad. All Jesuits. Those are the dumb dogs of Ted and the GC. This is how it's not important. Money, 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 money. My conviction is that to continue to fund blatant heresy is to be in agreement with it. It's time to keep the tithes until things get better. Lest you get discouraged, as I'm liable to if I continue reading all these terrible comments, there were some good ones like this one that keep a level head and see things as they rightfully are, with their eye on the mission. And here's what I said. I understand the frustration with the statement that leaves members refusing the vaccine to stand on their own without the support of the church, but I will caution you to tread carefully when speaking negatively about the GC president. Remember that Ellen White rebuked A.T. Jones and E.J. Wagner due to the way they spoke about George Butler, the GC president at the time, even though they were right and he was wrong. This was the best comment, my favorite comment that I saw. Family, I just want to gently remind us of something serious. Back in 1888, Ellen White said that angels were walking through the room, listening and recording the words and attitudes of those who were mocking the message God was trying to send. That really humbles me. God was watching then, and he still is now. This recent vote wasn't just a decision from a few leaders. It was our global church prayerfully voting together. Whether we personally agree or not, now is not the time to stir up rebellion or division. What we truly need is what the disciples had in the upper room. Confession, forgiveness, and unity. Have we forgotten that we're Adventists because we long for Jesus to return? If we keep holding on to division, we'll keep delaying his coming. In heaven, no more vaccine debates will matter, only being in his presence. Let's focus on that. Let's come together and prepare our hearts. Amen. And this is a good lesson. Please remember that only God will defend us. Do not expect your church to defend your rights. That is the lesson I have learned. So all of us, we can learn from this. Let us lean on God, not man, not the church. Don't trust in the arm of man. That's it. God bless you.